I've played a bunch of vanilla Stardew Valley, but recently I was looking for games that were like Stardew Valley adjacent by maintaining a similar vibe, but with its own unique identity. And Roots of Pacha came frequently recommended by cozy gamers as a Stoneage Stardew Valley. The game came out more than a year ago, so maybe it doesn't have all the hype train of a new game, but I gave it a try and was very pleasantly surprised. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about my early impressions of Roots of Pacha after around 10 hours of playing, which is far enough to get the hang of the gameplay loop, finish spring of year 1 and cross over into summer, and understand the core of what the game is about. Some of the key things I'm going to tackle are the premise and gameplay loop and activities that you can do in the game, what I like about it so far, and what I'm hoping to see as I keep on playing. And I'm also going to be inserting a bunch of vanilla Stardew Valley comparisons, since that's the perspective I came into this with, but of course also highlighting what gives the game its own identity. And as a general disclaimer, such comparisons aren't meant to trash on any one game, it's just to serve as a reference point, using something most players might be more familiar with. And hopefully as we go along, you might find out if this game is something that you want to try as well. So with that, welcome everyone, it's Sevy, and on this channel I check out city builder, simulation, cozy games, and more. So hit the subscribe button if you're interested in exploring those with me, and let's begin. So let's start with the basics of the game. This game is in a very cute pixel art style, which again is very Stardew Valley-esque, and your character is part of a clan that honors the goddess Pacha. Now it's set in the Stone Age, ancient kind of. It kind of disclaims in the home screen that it's not referring to any one specific culture or timeline or setting really, but you get a sense immediately that that's where you are because you have Stone Age technology. You start with a hand axe, which is basically a sharpened rock. You live in a hut, and then you start watering things using a water skin. So the main kind of background storyline is that you are settling with your clan in the Promised Land, and along the way you're meeting characters from other clans. And this slowly opens up content like new areas, objectives, items, technology, and so on. So of course, you kind of have your own designated area, and in that area you build up your own farm for both crops and animals. And then around the main land, you can fish, you can forage and gather in different areas, you can mine through caves, and this is a huge part of your gameplay loop. These are kind of the various basic activities that you can go through during the day. There are also lots of NPCs in your clan with romanceable options, and I'm gonna get back to this later. Another thing about this game is it can be played in co-op, but I haven't tried it yet, so this will generally be from a single player point of view. And I've been mostly playing this on Steam Deck, so it does work very well on the Steam Deck, but I did move over to my PC to record the footage. Now, one major aspect of the game, and probably one of its core, and for me personally one of the loveliest parts of the game, is the community and discovery aspect. In this game, your main currency here isn't gold or money, but rather community prosperity. So you have your own amount, which is your contribution that you can accumulate from putting things into the community collection. And with this contribution, you can spend on certain things as if it were money. But there's also a community amount, which is the full community prosperity that unlocks certain features like laundry lines and river safety that I unlocked recently. Anyway, the community aspect of the game is really strong. In particular, there are these new idea events where when you encounter certain problems or obstacles or just hit a certain point, and there's an NPC that will have a new idea as to how to tackle it. So when that comes up, it's going to come up in your journal log. You talk to the NPC, provide the materials, and if you have enough prosperity, then the NPC can get the idea started and then finish it in a couple of days. Now these will usually result in upgrades like a barn or a seed nursery or learning how to ride animals as some early examples, and then later on processing equipment like a juicer, a mortar and pestle, and so on. So it's not just you trying to discover everything for yourself, but there's also some nice interaction with how the NPCs help upgrade your own features. And I really enjoy this part because it really leans into the community clan aspect of working together that they established from the very start. Speaking of NPCs, yes, there are romanceables, and throughout the main story you even get to meet new characters. Anyway, I've come to appreciate the NPCs more and more, and many of them have designated roles within the clan, like the clan artist, the clan musician, fisher, wolf mother, etc., which for me also makes them easier to remember. So as your relationship with them grows, you do get cutscenes, but I haven't gotten that far into romancing any one NPC yet, so I can't speak to that experience yet. Another big feature I want to highlight has to do with the animals here. So first of all, there are wild animal herds that you can interact with in the different areas. Once you get a flute, you can attune to them to make them trust you and eventually become your mount or your farm animal or even your pet. You can have pet bunnies in this game. And as a bunny parent in real life, I am sold. But also, I just really enjoy this aspect of animal interaction since it also feels like you're building a relationship with them out in the wild and not just relationships with the people. It's a fun variety of animals here too, because you get ancient-ish like Stone Age animals like woolly mammoths, bison, even I think aurochs down the line. I haven't met one yet though, but they're not your typical farm animals essentially. Now I will point out that this game does have meat. You can get white meat and you can get red meat. And I know that Concerned Ape made a conscious decision to keep this out of vanilla Stardew Valley. In Roots of Pacha, for example, you have the option to send an animal to a butcher or set traps to collect meat. And I feel like this might be a turnoff to some, so I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. I've personally stuck to setting traps and collecting, whatever red or white meat comes along the way, rather than approaching our butcher guy, to which I would actually have to send an animal to. And I think if I did that, I would really feel bad. So I don't know if I'm ever gonna do that, but that's up to you if you try this game. Anyway, another thing you can do with animals is to breed them and improve their stats, because there are some stats here like speed and quality, but I haven't reached that point yet, so I'm not gonna go too deeply into that. Essentially though, with this entire aspect, animal husbandry is definitely a significant part of the game as well. Now let's talk about objectives. What are some objectives here in the game that can kind of guide you along the path? The first one, or the first big one, is the Forest Monument. And I think in vanilla Stardew Valley, the equivalent of this would kind of be the community center, but let me explain a bit more the differences here. There's this monument in the forest that has a bunch of prophecies, and completing categories will give you rewards and power-ups. However, these prophecies are a bit vague. They don't tell you exactly what you need to do to get them. Like, they are phrased in a way that you can kind of guess what they're referring to, but it's not clear-cut. So this can be frustrating because then you don't know exactly what you're working towards, and you might even feel compelled to like look it up on the wiki or something. But personally, I like it since I'm kind of doing the chill route and either try different things to complete them or just go through the game, keep discovering items, objects, and then hope that the prophecies complete themselves along the way. Because not having a kind of clear-cut requirement on how to do things kind of lets me just not mind them and trust that they are part of what you're going to go through in the game. You might end up feeling differently about this. Again, it does have the potential to be frustrating, I totally see that, but for me, that's how I'm viewing it in my playthrough. Another objective that you kind of accumulate along the way is plant knowledge. At the start, you don't even know how long a plant takes to grow, and the more you harvest a plant, the more knowledge you gain about it. And I think this is also part of the discovery aspect, because it's like you're starting from nothing. So those are some things you can aim for, but also accumulate just along the way. There are other objectives that are slowly starting to present themselves, like winning races, for example. You can race with some NPCs on your mount, you can complete cave puzzles, and there are more, but I'm currently more focused on increasing my plant knowledge and discovering recipes and items and stuff, especially since I'm going through the seasons, and there's still going to be more fish, more crops, and more items overall in the different areas that spawn per season. Alright, now that we've gotten through some of the core features of Pacha, there are some Stardew Valley comparisons I want to talk about in particular, and this is, again, going to be in reference to vanilla Stardew Valley, since I haven't really had much interest yet in trying Stardew Valley mods. And once again, I'm gonna disclaim that this isn't meant to make one game superior over the other. I'm just using vanilla Stardew Valley as my main reference point that hopefully many other players can relate to as well. So one of the main things that really takes getting used to in Stardew Valley is NPC schedules. If you want to find an NPC because you finished their request, or want to buy something from Marnie, or want to give a gift, they have their own schedules, and either you memorize them or look them up on the wiki where to find them. In Roots of Pacha, the NPCs do have their own schedules as well, but you can easily locate them on your map at any given point in the day. And this was a really big thing for me, because where I would usually resort to looking at the wiki if I were playing Stardew Valley, Roots of Pacha just lets me check it in-game. So I no longer have to struggle in looking for a certain NPC to discuss their new idea, or if I want to give them a gift, or anything like that. And in fact, it also lets me plan my route a bit better throughout the day. And the map where you can see the NPCs has other features as well. As you discover the wild crops, it actually pins them on the map so that you can regularly go back to them and get free seeds for your farm. It also shows animal herds, so you can see where you want to attune to them, if you want to pick up a new animal or bring one to your barn. It basically shows you where you can go, but these are things that you have to find for yourself. So if you haven't discovered yet, it's not going to show up on the map. Now, this was one pretty big quality of life feature for me that actually kind of sold me on the comfort of the game, because I felt like I could really just sit here, just refer to the map, and just stay put without really having to struggle with planning or my route or anything like that. And there are other features in the game too that makes this feel ultimately more chill, but I guess on the flip side, a bit less challenging, especially in reference to vanilla Stardew Valley. Another big thing is that Roots of Pacha does not have any combat. The main thing I'm punching are rocks and trees. For a while I was kind of wondering, like, do you just encounter them later in the game? Have I not gone into any dangerous zones? But after checking other user reviews, I guess there really aren't any monsters here that I need to fight to the death with. I personally have no issue with this. I'm already having a lot of fun evolving my farm and the clan, exploring new areas, picking up new items, and interacting with animals. And again, the caves have puzzles instead of monsters, among other resources. Now, down the line, I might wish there were combat for like a harder challenge or something, but I'm not at that point yet, so we might have to wait and see. Anyway, if you are the type of player that looks for more of a challenge or higher stakes or a bigger threat, then I think Roots of Pacha might disappoint in that aspect. And then some other quality of life things that make the game feel easier, especially at the start, is one, having separate inventories for tools, seeds, and items, which ultimately gives you more space and item slots from the get-go. Another is being able to gather seeds for free on the regular, thanks to those wild crops that are just out there in the different areas. And then the stamina bar doesn't feel as scarce at the start compared to vanilla Stardew Valley, and if you run out, it will just tell you that you're out of stamina and you can't do any tasks, and you don't really have to suffer other consequences other than not being able to do anything. Another one is that fishing is easier. It's calmer. You hover over the fish and wait to strike, which kind of corresponds to the fact that you're hunting with a rock. I'm currently talking to an NPC who might have an idea for improved fishing, so we'll see if that changes it up. But basically, that's what fishing is like at the start. Okay, at this point, it might sound like I'm being a bit too critical of vanilla Stardew Valley, but I love it, I swear. Okay, I'm just mentioning these because I know from personal experience, the start of Stardew Valley can be a bit rough, as you quickly discover your resource limitations like stamina and gold. Now, of course, the upside to having all these challenges in Stardew Valley is that you have more urgency, you have more objectives, and you become ultimately more efficient in planning your day and your season, and these can be very enjoyable if you really enjoy that management perspective, especially with the challenges and motivations it provides. I know that in my playthroughs of Stardew Valley, once I get into the rhythm of dealing with those challenges and that routine, it really gets addictive. Like, it goes day after day until I accomplish this thing or until I reach this goal, and that's really a good driving force of the gameplay. But again, if you ever wanted like the chill parts of Stardew Valley and wanted some aspects to make it more chill, at least with respect to the vanilla version, I think that I've personally found that in Roots of Pacha. Now, moving on, what are some things that I would like to see more of? Let's talk about that. One thing I want to mention are skills. Now, Stardew Valley has skills that you can improve and get bonuses from as they level up, such as your farming skill, which increases hoeing and watering can proficiency, and then increasing those skills also unlocks crafting recipes. Now, remember that in Roots of Pacha, a lot of recipes are unlocked by talking to NPCs and discussing new ideas instead of through skill development. And then in vanilla Stardew Valley, occupations give more bonuses like increasing the value of your animal products. Roots of Pacha doesn't seem to have a skill tree per se, at least at the point where I'm at. You can choose a bonus in your rite of passage on the first day, but from there, the bonuses that I've gained so far are more accessories that you can get as rewards from the forest, and then these are the ones that give you bonuses. So I kind of hope that there will be more ways to gain bonuses or proficiency in some tasks. Perhaps they will come in the form of technology advancements. And speaking of technology advancements, advancements, I've seen other people mention more advancements that you get to unlock down the line, one of the big ones being irrigation. I haven't reached this point yet, but this is something I'm really looking forward to because it looks cool and fun. And this is once again leaning into that community and discovery aspect of the game. So yeah, it's those mechanics that I'm really looking forward to or hoping to see more of. Now, when it comes to the overall content of the game, like how much overall content there is available, because I have seen some discussions about that, since I'm still in relatively early to mid-game, I can't speak that much about it. Like, I don't have a clear idea of it yet, especially in comparison to Stardew Valley. Now, what I have read about it is that Stardew Valley, by comparison, just has so much more content to complete and do down the line, especially with big things like Ginger Island and Skull Cavern. Now, I'm personally not too worried if Pacha doesn't have as much content since I'm going at a very casual pace, and it looks like Roots of Pacha is still actively updating with its next update scheduled for July 31st. I guess for reference, it's taken me about 10 hours to get through spring of year 1, so to complete an entire year, that'll probably get me to about 40 to 50 hours, and then we'll see what other content there is after the progress I've made in the first year. But if you are the type to zoom through content really fast, then it might be worth considering whether you'll be able to sink as much time into this game as you want to. But if you're happy going at a pretty casual pace like me, then I think this might not be too big of a concern. So to wrap this video up, I think Roots of Pacha really puts you in a mindset of community and discovery. Again, this is one of the core features that I really love about the game. And progressing tools and technology really feels like a clan effort, so there's really an emphasis also of surviving and thriving by working together. There's also a strong sense of being in touch with nature, like how you attune to the animals and gain their trust. I didn't really go into depths of the caves feature here because I honestly have been spending more time farming rather than spelunking. But another thing to add here is that through the caves, you also gain some animal-related spirit-esque powers that are fun to discover and use too. So as a vanilla Stardew Valley player, I would highly recommend this to anyone looking for a cozy game to try out that kind of is Stardew Valley adjacent, whether they've played Stardew Valley or not, while also of course recommending Stardew Valley itself to those who haven't played it yet. And again, I'll just bring this point back. If you are not one for combat from your cozy game or want to keep things relatively low stakes, Roots of Pacha does offer a calmer take on that farming life. But I think for more challenge or more higher stakes or, you know, a bit more thrill, I think that Stardew Valley does that part a bit better so far. Now, I'm definitely going to keep playing it as I want to experience all the seasons and get to know my romanceable options more, keep discovering technology, among other things. And overall, I'm just excited to see how my clan will prosper and discover what else the goddess Pacha has in store for her people. So those are my first impressions so far of Roots of Pacha. Let me know in the comments what you think of the game, but overall I just really enjoy it so far. It's currently my cozy game before I sleep game, and I'd love to see others give it a chance as well. That's going to be all, so if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all soon. Take care!